whole character thing going on there to be worried about, and I'm in my seat like, don't do it. Don't do it. I completely forgot about the movie at that point. Like,
Yep. Hi, I'm Matt with No Market Media.
And I'm Randall. Today, Matt and I have marked off another movie on our 2021 Wish We Had Seen list with Licorice Pizza finally came to town. Licorice Pizza stars in both their theatrical debuts Alana Haim and Cooper Hoffman. The cast also includes a wide variety of well-known actors who play smaller roles throughout the film. It is written and directed by Paul Thomas Anderson, who's well known for There Will Be Blood, The Master, and Punch Drunk Love. But before we get too much into this new movie review, make sure if you do like it, give it a like. Those really help us out. If you want to see more, subscribe to the channel. And, of course, do the bell icon thing. You guys know all the things by now.
Licorice Pizza takes place in California's San Fernando Valley during the 1970s and is about a 15-year-old boy and a 25-year-old woman who form a close friendship and maybe even a romance. Follows the two of them through their changing relationships and professional endeavors. At a $40 million budget, and so far has made more than $11 million, is well liked by critics and has received above average reviews from audiences. It was nominated for 4 Golden Globes, including Best Motion Picture Musical or Comedy. Anderson says he wrote the film for Alana Haim, and many of the set pieces are based on stories he heard from friends.
I'm always pretty hit and miss on these slice of life, movies.
Mm-hmm.
Sometimes I love them. Sometimes I'm just like, wow, that movie sucked. Didn't have a point. But I enjoyed my viewing experience of Licorice Pizza. The biggest thing for me is that this one is more, even with some of the crazy set pieces that go on, is more of a 3-act structure. It's got a beginning, it's got a middle, and it's got a climax. A beginning, middle, end, stuff like that. So it's easy to follow along, and the characters end at a logical spot for the characters and the story to end for this movie, basically. It's not for everyone, but I enjoyed my time. I think I probably laughed more in the theater than most of the people in the theater. So, but I'd love to do a Cars and Movie segment. There's so many cars. It's any film that takes place in the 60s, unless it's about cars, 60s, 70s, is real hard to do because it's like that, distracted. So along with my first impression, lots of really cool classic cars.
Mm-hmm. And it's funny to talk about those cars. There's one scene where it takes place during.
Nope.
What?
Not talking about that.
What? Talk about what?
I'm not talking about the Daytona.
Oh, no, that's not even what I was going to bring up or whatever.
Okay, continue.
I was just saying one part that was interesting, too, because it takes place during the gasoline shortage and stuff, and there's a scene where 2 of our characters are, going by a whole lineup of cars. They're waiting in line. It's like, yep, another car, kind of picking out all the different cars, just in this one scene of them going through. So,
I thought you were going to talk about that. Butt clenchings.
No. Wasn't going to talk about that scene. I really enjoyed Licorice Pizza. I had a lot of fun. Was laughing through quite a bit of this movie and stuff too. Like you said though, maybe it's just our age group or whatever, because we were watching it with some older. I'd say we're on the younger side of the people watching it.
What does that say?
I don't know. Maybe it's just more humor for our age and stuff. But I really, really enjoyed this movie. So much so, I'm actually going on a limb and saying if we'd watched this before our 2021 review, this might actually been my runner-up for my favorite movie of the year.
Oh, yes. It's pretty good. Yeah, definitely.
I really enjoyed it.
All right, I'll elaborate. I will tell you guys that even though there was one exceptionally stressful scene with the Ferrari Daytona, I made it through. And still enjoyed my experience. And if I can get over a movie where a Ferrari Daytona's windshield gets smashed in, you can too.
Alright, so basic story, it's that boy meets girl kind of story. Boy kind of likes girl and is, trying to ask the girl out on a date and stuff. But the big problem is that there's a 10-year difference between boy and girl, and boy is in high school kind of thing. So, there's kind of a bit of a, struggle or whatever you want to say there, whatever. A lot of it goes on to, these characters, like, really looking like, what is it that they want kind of thing. What are their true feelings for each other and that kind of thing. And, yeah, it was enjoyable watching that kind of, like, story arc.
Yeah, so the plot, if you sit back and you think about it and you're like, okay, it's creepy. It's 25-year-old and a 15-year-old. Like, okay, that's it's a lot, especially, and they point out, like, hey, he's not even, like, really worldly. He doesn't pay attention to the things that are actually important because he's a 15-year-old.
Yep.
Like, most 15-year-olds don't really pay attention to the things that are really important.
Mm-hmm.
It's just life. But once you get past that, all right, that's like the start. You just start seeing it as these characters and these things that these characters do, and this thing leads to this thing, which leads to this thing, and their relationship becoming something, and whether or not they need to do it, or to pursue anything, or they won't pursue something because it's just, she's like, no, I know that this is wrong from, like, an age perspective, but I really enjoy hanging out with this person, that's all the enjoyable stuff, though, like the way the plot just unfolds with these characters just hanging out.
Yep. I mean, really, that's what it is. It's kind of like that summertime, hanging out. I don't know if you want to say, like, first love kind of story. Kind of, not really, but it's really, yeah. A lot of this movie is about, this close friendship kind of thing, and, things when they do other life stuff, how it affects the other one all the time. So, yeah.
Can we be friends and business partners at the same time? Do we actually love each other? Who knows? This movie's got tons of one-off crazy characters, and I mentioned in the beginning, like, so Sean Penn's in this, Bradley Cooper's in this, Tom Waits is in this, and they all do, like, these crazy character things, and you're like, I have no idea what this has to do with the film, but hey, there's our two mains, and they're in each of these scenes, these crazy scenes with each other and everything that's happening. You're like, well, it's okay, I can still latch on to them because those guys, Bradley Cooper is, it doesn't matter, Sean Penn, Bradley Cooper, all three of those guys, crazy. But yeah, these characters, they pull everything together. They are the ones that make the movie greater than the sum of its parts.
Yep. Yeah, I would say with our two leads, I think it's good with them being in their theatrical, debut and stuff too. That makes it feel a little bit, more genuine, I would say, with our two main characters. They're not, like, real, like, heavy, like, acted up, I guess I was saying. They're kind of, they are acting, or I would say not like, highly experienced. I don't know. I would say one scene, to make my point, is there's one where, there's Sean Penn, and Sean Penn is giving, like, a dialogue, and the camera, or monologue, and the camera's, framed on him. And you just look at that and like, man, that is one well-seasoned actor, really in his element, exactly in his craft, showing that. Our main characters are not like that at all. And I think that's what kind of adds to the authenticity feel of it. They just feel like they could be like real kids or whatever, teen and a 25-year-old during the 1970s.
This is a thing I do for like all love interest movies. It doesn't matter really to me. I always go and look up like the age difference between the love interests, and usually because Hollywood's terrible, the female star is way younger than the male star.
Yep,
it could be 20 years or more. Well, I thought while you're talking about how genuine the characters felt, I'm like, all right, she's born in like 1991.
Yep,
and Hoffman's born in like 2003.
Yep.
And you look at their ages, although a little bit exaggerated, 25 and 15, are pretty accurate. And the age gap between them is actually greater than is portrayed in the film. And for once, it's the female that's older.
Yep.
Not just the character, the actual actor, actress, And so maybe that lends that authenticity to it. Like, he really is a teenager. And she really is a 25-ish year old, so, it works.
And it adds to it. And just to go on what you're saying, some of those minor characters. Because if it is, a movie, talking about, like, childhood stories or like, stories that your friends told you or whatever, it definitely hits for those like characters to be a bit like over the top. It makes them memorable set pieces and stuff.
So as I was looking up some stuff about the movie and like the set pieces and everything, the character Bradley Cooper plays is based on a real life person who actually did date Barbra Streisand.
Barbra Streisand?
Barbra Streisand.
Sand.
Yeah, like sands, like the ocean, like
Barbra
beaches.
Streisand?
No, like Streisand.
Sand.
Streisand.
Streisand.
But a amazingly large caricature of that character, basically. He wrote it at, like, it's not realistic at all. It's not meant to be realistic. All the person who he's portraying asked for was that he included his, like, actual favorite or most famous, like, hitting on girls line. Like, you gotta use my pickup line, basically. And other than that, you can do whatever you want. And I'm like, oh, he did.
He did.
I'd say this movie and the characters, it's almost like Once Upon a Time in Hollywood, where it helps to have some ancillary knowledge about real life people, even though they're not based on real life people.
Yeah.
Sometimes, and it's like it just helps with where it's based and what's being told and how the story's progressing and the characters that are in it to actually have some of that knowledge. Makes the movie viewing experience much better. I feel like that's why I laughed more at some things.
Some things I just laughed, loved the situation and stuff, and talking about the character stuff, just their back and forth, especially with our two main characters. I just found a lot of their interactions and stuff, even when words aren't spoken, when they're just staring at one another.
Stop that.
Freaking hilarious. So yeah, I really enjoyed that.
Don't be creepy. He's just staring at her.
Alright, so for me, for genre, I thought this was kind of like a coming of age movie, and then kind of like I would say, not necessarily like romantic comedy. I would actually put it more of like a drama comedy kind of thing, even though it is kind of like, kids, I don't know, kind of romance, I don't know. It's up and down, I think, on that kind of thing. But yes, that's what I really think. It is kind of like, especially for, it's kind of interesting, like coming of age, even though I would say even their ages are different, it's kind of flipped a little bit. So I think our 15-year-old kind of is on to different things and is pretty well structured, like looking forward into like careers and stuff. And it isn't until, our 25-year-old meets this 15-year-old that she becomes more, career-oriented and stuff. She is a little bit of a mess and just, she's in Tiny Toes, and is going to be stuck with Tiny Toes until, she's in her 30s.
Forever.
What's your future look like?
I don't know.
How do you like working at Tiny Toes?
I hate working at Tiny Toes.
See, I would say it could be coming of age, but I got way more romantic comedy out of it. Like, I don't want to split hairs. Like, at the end of the day, this is a romance movie of some form, basically. Whether you can get over that or not and be like, it's just a movie. And then, like I've mentioned several times, I just laughed a lot. I thought that there are a lot of set pieces that were funny. There's a lot of stuff going on between the characters that's funny. There's a lot of situations that they're put in that are funny, except for the Daytona scene. Nothing about the Ferrari Daytona scene was funny or fun, but it was very stressful, and it was supposed to be, so I guess, yay!
So I was stressful during those scenes, but for different parts or whatever. Not as much, I guess, with the actual car. Even though I was kind of like, oh, please don't scratch it up. But at the same time, too, he's there in the truck with them. So it's like, well,
There's a whole character thing going on there to be worried about. And I'm in my seat like, don't do it. Don't do it. I completely forgot about the movie at that point. Like, you can't do that to a Daytona. I'm sure they didn't really smash a real Daytona's windshield, because you just don't do that to multi-million-dollar car.
No. Well, that's the thing, too. It probably just framed, where it is, so it kind of looks like maybe that's that car's windshield.
I knew Sean Penn, Bradley Cooper are in this movie.
Yep.
I could never have foreseen how nuts those scenes were going to be. Like, they both start out relatively normal.
Mm-hmm.
She's at an audition. Sean Penn's playing an actor who's reading lines opposite of her. And you're like, okay, that's pretty normal. And then things go crazy. And then similar with, like, Bradley Cooper's character who's portraying it's just, you showed up late and now I'm late, and you're like, all right, he's understandably upset and he doesn't want him to mess up his nice house with the waterbed and everything. And then things go crazy.
Mm-hmm.
I could have never seen how crazy those things were going to get.
Mine, what I didn't see coming, is another one of those kind of like crazy characters, but it's like a different one that we haven't talked about yet. And that is the owner of the Japanese restaurant. I did not expect that at all. I mean, because the movie kind of plays out like, he had a restaurant in Japan for like 10 years or whatever, and came to the States, and he has, a Japanese wife. But when he goes to talk to his wife and does it in
so
such...
offensive.
Yeah, it is. It's so over-the-top offensive that I couldn't help but, like, laugh at it. Because it's not one of those things like, hey, you're laughing, with it. Or you're laughing at the guy. You're laughing at the situation. And I love that it wasn't just a one-time scene, that it is something that comes back later in the film. And I think that just goes back to what we were saying about these characters. Like, some of them are, like, really minor, but their scenes are so impactful, so crazy. Memorable.
Their scenes are so crazy. And then you come back to that character. He comes back again. He's, like, the only character who, like, really recurs, basically, past his moment in the film.
Mm-hmm.
This is my new Japanese wife.
Yep.
And he doesn't say new wife. He says new Japanese wife.
Yep.
It's just like, oh, my God. Well, I wonder why.
Honestly, I would talk about like stereotypes. It almost fits kind of like that California or Hollywood style, stereotypes where like, man, everything's fake. All right, so I really did enjoy this film. I had a lot of fun watching it, really from start to finish. I really enjoyed this film. From beginning, we had some good laughs, the way characters meet and everything, good. And then the ending, the conclusion that we get to this film, to me, it just was good. I had a lot of fun watching it. And, I actually recommend, seeing this if you're interested in it or intrigued by it. I recommend that you go check it out.
Yeah. So I'm not going to waste time saying that I enjoyed it because I already told you that. What I will say is that some movies are making a point about society. Some movies are, on purpose looking at everything like with a very thin sheet of glass, or they want you to reflect on it. This is not that kind of movie, really, not particularly. This is just a movie telling a story. And like I mentioned earlier, you get over the age thing, because in the real world it's like, whoa, stop it, 25-year-old, 15-year-old, someone put the brakes on that hard.
Yep.
But it's a movie, and we're talking about movies, and this one as a movie is enjoyable and fun to watch. The characters are fun to watch. Do I endorse 25-year-olds dating 15-year-olds? No, I do not, because I like Licorice Pizza, the movie. I'm just saying it's a fun, enjoyable film to watch.
Yep.
And that's all. But if you've seen it, you let us know what you think of it down in the comments below. We also have other videos on our YouTube page, other new movie reviews, flashback movie reviews, some TV series reviews, and some deeper dive discussions.
We also have a Facebook page. Be sure to check us out there. We post a lot of different things, specifically from our fandoms. We also post a day before our reviews come out on YouTube to let you know what the topic is going to be. If you don't have a Facebook page, don't worry about it. Just check us out on YouTube. We have a schedule. Our videos come out every Monday and Thursday. For now, with No Market Media, I'm Matt. Have a good day, everyone.
And I'm Randall. See everyone next time.
Next time on No Market Media. Please consider checking out some of our other videos.